features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. Good morning everybody, and welcome to this your sunrise safari. That is the sun coming up. My name is James Hendry and this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
As I say, everybody, you're most welcome here. It is a very chilly 14 degrees Celsius, 53 degrees Fahrenheit in the Lowveld of the world's most beautiful country. That, of course, is the country of Azerbaijan. That is nonsense. It's not Azerbaijan. That's not where we are. We're in South Africa, which is a wonderful country at the southern end of the African continent, where many of the great iconic animals of wildlife that have captured the hearts and minds of people around the world roam. Hopefully we're going to find some of them today. I'm going to try and find Karula, the queen of Djuma, a leopardess of 12 years of age, and her 8-month-old cubs. Now they're 8 months and 1 day old today, so hopefully we'll have a bit of luck with them. Brent was following them on the hunt. Perchance she has killed an Impala, hoisted it into a tree, and they will be sitting in the soon-to-be very golden light just down the road. That's what we hope for. Out on drive as well, Taylor McCurdy. She's being filmed by the diminutive VM Doornbraak, which brings me neatly to who is filming me today, and that is Brian the Thumb Joubert, who has a very formal kind of, well, bit of a Monday blues thumb, really. No one likes to go to work on a Monday morning unless they work for Wild Earth. The traffic wasn't too bad this morning, was it, Brian? No, I didn't see any traffic as we came out of here. No. Taylor still wasn't mobile. That's the only other traffic that there might be. Now, we are supposedly in the middle of summer. Well, not the middle of summer, the beginnings thereof. You can see that I'm wearing a beanie hat on my head. This is not only because I am unfortunately balding, some might say bald already. It is because it is cold, and there's a very chilly wind blowing. I'm not sure where it's come from. All the clouds have disappeared sometime during the course of the night, although there are some building behind us. Maybe there'll be rain, maybe there'll be sleet, maybe there'll be snow, maybe there'll be sun. We just don't know. That rhymed. It was amazing, wasn't it?
It was really good.
I'm really quite impressed with that. Okay, let's have one last look at the sunrise, and then we'll see if we can find Karula, the great queen. James Richard, you say you wonder if Karula was successful last night, and hopefully, if she was, it is on our traverse. Well, quite. I hope so too, and I think it's quite possible that she might have been successful. She's certainly not an incompetent huntress. I'm just taking one picture of the sun, and then we'll be on our way to find out. Those clouds are just rather special though, aren't they? And the dawn chorus a little bit subdued at the moment because it is rather chilly, and I think that puts some of the birds into the mood not to get out of bed, as it does many people. Alrighty, we're going to move on now. As we go along, let's head across to Stefan Winter, the Mystic Boer, and find out what's happening with him on foot and where he is going to traverse this great property today.
Thank you very much, James, and good morning to you all. Now, we have decided to also run with our faces into the wind this morning on the bushwalk. You are with myself, Stef, and I've got Xander on camera again this morning. Luckily, getting used to one another at the moment, the way this is going. And we're just having a look at this beautiful sunrise and the way that it is colouring up the bush around us. Just have a look at that. Nice, bright, yellow sun, which means that the atmosphere is blissfully clear of dust. And that is because the wind has been howling pretty much the whole night, scraping branches and blowing away the cloud cover that we had for the last couple of days. Just have a look at this wall of cloud that we've got on our northern side that's catching the light at the moment. It looks like it's retreating, although I must be honest with you, Xander, it doesn't look like to be retreating at the same velocity that the wind is blowing at. So who knows what's actually happening. We don't know. We'll be able to tell you throughout the day, of course. I mean, we don't quite know whether it's going to cloud up again or whether it's just going to stay nice and clear and give us one of those post-rain sort of cloudless blue wonderful days. Our plan for today, we are heading towards Balanites. I want to go and have a look at an Aardvark neighborhood that we managed to see and find a couple of weeks ago, and go and see if it's still active. At the time we were there was an active burrow, and I can't wait to see if there still is an active burrow over there. It just looked like this place had just been churned over by some bulldozers, and in actual fact it was just the workings of these Aardvark. So without further ado, I think let's carry on down. We've chosen to walk on a game path that you can maybe see stretching through us in the front here. It's very faint. It's just in between the two green bushes that you see in front of you. No, very difficult to see. But basically we're heading into that wall of green that you're seeing over there. There's a depression and a drainage line inside there. We're going to cross it, hopefully without bumping into any buffalo on the way. But that's what I'm up to this morning, and I'm sure Taylor wants to greet you all and tell you what she's up to. So we'll catch you in a little bit.
Good morning and welcome again, everybody. I know you've had a warm welcoming from James and Stef already this morning, but my name is Taylor, and on camera with me I've got VM. Here's VM. So, as I'm sure everybody's commented on this frosty morning safari, it's going to be a really good day though. Our clouds are moving off, which is just nice. I'm looking forward to the warm weather again. You can see them disappearing, and the sun is out for a change. So after we've had that little bit of rain, maybe we're going to see some reptiles and things start to come out. How interesting will that be? Or the explosion of termites, which I love to talk about. Now this morning VM and I, hang on, I've got a little bit of dung, and it could be possibly what I want to look for this morning. I just want to pull off the road a little bit more. Let's see if I can see any tracks to go with the poop that I saw. No, nothing. So our plan this morning is going to be lions. Let's see if we can see that dung. Maybe able to get it just over there. I did see some hyena tracks. I think it's most likely very fresh hyena dung that we've got that was just deposited, and it's soon going to go. A lovely white color. Perhaps it was munching on a bit more flesh than it normally does, and it doesn't look that normal green color. But we're going to be looking for lions this morning. That's the goal, and I believe some of you saw them on the dam cam. So if they come back down to the dam cam, you're welcome to let us know. You can either hashtag Safari Live, or you can even send us questions as well as little tips if you see anything moving on the cameras to questions@WildEarthTV. But let's see what else the morning has for us. VM, do you think we're going to find lions this morning? Wonderful. VM's very optimistic, so I'm going to be super optimistic too and hope that we can get them. So they must have obviously finished off that buffalo kill. Wasn't very much meat on there, I suppose. Not enough to keep the pride going for too long. Or it'll be actually quite nice to see if we can find that big buffalo herd that was on here yesterday. I didn't quite manage to find it yesterday morning. We may have a chance today. Maybe. But firstly, and I've got such squeaky brakes. We've got some elephants. I'm sorry. You can see now, I slightly frightened this elephant, but don't worry, it was just because we both surprised each other, and then the brakes are very squeaky. It's okay, girl. Relax. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to give you a fright, but she'll settle down now. You can see she's already relaxing again. Hey, big girl. Now, I just want to make sure that we leave on a good note. So I'm going to just sit here and interact with her for a little bit, but she seems fine. Hey, big girl. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to give you a fright of the squeaky brakes. VM, we're going to have to do that little trick that Brian taught me the other day.
What is that?
The trick is to get rid of the squeakiness on the brakes. It works very easily. But I won't share the tip just yet. We'll just test it and see if it works. And then I'll let you on a little secret. But it seems like a nice family has actually passed through here. You can see there's a few more as this one disappears on the left, all munching in a little triangle together. And that little one seems to be playing with a guarri bush. I think it may be trying to bite on the bark on a branch there. Is that what it's doing? Yes, that's exactly what it's doing. Now, this little one will slowly start to learn that there are tastier branches than a guarri tree to bite on with all the tannins that are in it. But it's actually doing quite a good job. Did you see that? Actually managed to pull the entire branch off, and you saw some of the bark being stripped. So it's learning. It's learned the technique. Next thing is learn which food is the tastiest. But I'm so glad that we're going to see the Ellies putting on a little bit more condition. And you're going to see they're going to try and eat as much as they can while there's all this nice greenery around. Definitely noticed a difference in the elephants' behavior, how much more relaxed they are. They were a little bit stressed just before we got the rain. And for those of you who perhaps haven't been watching for the last few weeks, or if you're just joining for the first time, welcome. The reason why we're talking about the vegetation so much is have a look at this little one that's just popped out now into this little drainage. Is we had some rain almost 2 weeks ago now, and we had a little bit of rain again about a few days ago. So that's why you're seeing all this lovely green vegetation popping out. Now we're watching a young elephant at the moment who's attempting to strip the bark from a guarri tree, which is actually doing a very good job. It's actually quite a difficult technique. The way that they have to twist and corkscrew it in order just to strip that one layer off that they are after. It was really lovely. I know it's not the greatest view at the moment, but it's so nice just to be sitting here so quietly first thing in the morning with the chorus of the birds starting. It's quite lovely. Golden sun coming out. We're very spoiled this morning, Vian. It's a great start already. There's another one. What I may actually in fact even do is, Liam, I could go a little bit further forward and we could see if we could go and get an elephant just up on the hill. Now, I hope my squeaky brakes aren't going to make it too cross. I'm going to try. Sorry everyone, it's going to be a little bit unlevel just because I've parked up on a slope. So you'll see that being corrected shortly. There we go. A young elephant also, probably almost about 10 years in age. Looks like a female. Now they can start breeding anywhere from as young as 15 years old. Remember, elephants live for quite a long time. They lived for about 60 to 70 years, anywhere between there. Really amazing this morning. Now, as we watch this female elephant, you can see that she's able to use her trunk very, very well, exactly like an adult. And I know Michael was wondering this morning, how long does it take for an elephant to use its trunk completely? Michael, it can take up to 1 year. Quite a long time. But there are so many different muscles. I've heard 150 different answers, I suppose, of how many muscles are in an elephant's trunk. I reckon there's about 60,000 or so. So that's why they're so clumsy when those little ones walk around, trying to pick up sticks, waving them around like a balloon. Not sure what to do with it. And then you look at this female over here, who's got perfect control over her trunk. Very delicate as well, as you can see the way she picks. Just picking exactly what she wants. Picking around the thorns. The big ones. Now you can see that awesome golden light coming through that we haven't seen for the last few days. Doesn't that make this elephant look amazing? Remember to take screenshots as well of the changing of the colors of the bush. Now we're moving away from the grass as well. We've got some of the greenery on the leaves coming through. So keep snapping and build a little portfolio or something like that, a little album, so that you can see the changes over the next few months. I'm sorry. You can see how they've also been chewing on those acacias already, stripping all the bark as we watch her walk away. It's me again. I was ducking down for too long there. Let's go forward again. No. Right, let's have another look here. This is going to be really nice. Right, I'm just repositioning. You're going to see here. Now you can look at these lovely orange leaves coming through. And then you've got the bright green, and then of course the dark grey. Sorry, BM's just quickly adjusting his cam. We're parking on slopes. We're not on a very flat road today. The elephants are going downhill and we're going uphill. And maybe you can send in, what is your favorite time of the year, or favorite time of the year to watch the show? Obviously I know some of you haven't actually come on a safari, but it's like you're going on one every single day. I'd love to hear from you. What is your favorite time of the year to watch safaris? So basically, what's your favorite season? So we're in spring at the moment. We're in the middle of spring. And I'd really like to hear from you. Is it perhaps during the summer, the heat of the summer, when the grass is running low? It's those hot, sweltering days when you know all the animals are going to come down and definitely have a drink that afternoon. Or is it when you get to winter? Beginning of winter, when there is nothing for them to eat, and then the water starts to run out, and then right at the end of winter, hoping for those first rains. Obviously big concentrations of game, animals. Or is it now? First rains, new growth, seeing the happiness oozed from all the animals. You can see that little one's working very hard this morning. And it's so nice to also sit and watch these animals grow up, especially with the elephants. As they gain every week, you can sort of definitely see an improvement on how they handle themselves in the African bush. They haven't even let out a rumble. They are so quiet this morning. Well, they could be chatting away. They could be having a whole conversation and we actually wouldn't hear it, I suppose. It's so quiet. I don't know if you can hear all the birds there, all chatting away in the distance. Maybe a little bit far away, but it is really lovely out here today. Just a gentle breeze coming through now. You can see the leaves just moving a little bit, not too much. It's quite nice. It's fresh this morning. But we're going to be in for a treat. I believe that it's going to get ridiculously hot soon. We're getting to next few days. We're going to get to about 38 degrees Celsius. I'm not 100% sure what that's in Fahrenheit. I really need to make a concerted effort and learn the conversion. But maybe someone can tell me. It'd be nice to chat to all of you this morning. I'm feeling very lonely today, so I'd love to hear from you. But I think what we're going to do as these elephants move off into the bushes now, we're going to carry on a little bit further. So somebody wants to talk to me this morning, and that somebody is Debbie from Vancouver. Good morning. Thank you for your comment. Debbie was just commenting about how it's also, did you say it was spring? So I just wanted to check if I heard that, Kirsty. No, it's not spring, it's summer. Sorry. Sorry, I forgot I was doing a quiz for a second there. Not a quiz, but just a question and chatting around. So, sorry about that. My brain hasn't quite woken up. So Debbie, I think now is probably the good time. And Debbie agrees. I actually think I've changed my mind as to when the best time is. And Debbie and I agree. We think it's this time of the year. Just when all the grass is coming out, we've had those first rains. We should be expecting lots of flowers. And I know there's a few of us in camp who absolutely love all the wild flowers that come through. That's going to be exciting. I'm trying to think what I've seen so far. I've only just seen a morning glory and all the Mopani pomegranates that have come into bloom. The tree wisterias, they're popping out too, and hopefully some more. But while I go and look for the nkuhumas or any sign of them, let's go to Stef and see what he's up to. Roadblock.
Welcome back. You actually caught us sneaking around a buffalo. So we've got a buffalo in the distance, and buffalo on foot this time of the morning are not my favorite thing, especially in the wind. So he's over there, and you can just see the darkness over there. And also why I'm whispering. So he'll come into the open patch now. You can see he's actually feeding relatively fast. They've used up so much of their weight and their bulk during this dry season on such low quality grass that they're feeding all the time. And this is a very good area for grass. Just off of the crest, this area that we are in now is to the eastern side of Zoe's Road, somewhere in that massive block between Quarantine and Zoe's Road. And we very often see buffalo here. And what's happened is those lions that have been camped out at Buffelshoek Dam have pushed all of these male buffalo into this area, and this was, luckily we got sight of him in the open, but this is one of the things that we have to look out for. There are, James and I suppose share a similar view in that they don't, here at least anyway, they don't have the reputation that they have in East Africa or Kenya for killing as many people as they do. They have injured a lot of people in the Sabi Sands though, and so to discount the danger or the threat that buffalo represent would be dangerous and would be a bad thing to do. Let's have a look at him now. He's busy feeding slowly with his head underneath the branches. The best grass at this particular time is underneath the trees, and it's a species of grass called Panicum maximum, one of the most beneficial grasses to ruminants, and that's what that buffalo will be looking for, is the leaves of Panicum maximum. Although at this time, with this flush of grass that's coming out here, you could pretty much eat any of the grass really. Let's go and see if we can see one last. I'm not going to get any closer than we are at the moment. We're probably about 100 yards or so from this buffalo, with the wind blowing quite strongly into our faces, and so the wind is in our favor. But you can see just from the open bush that's all around there, we've got absolutely no cover. There's no concealment, there's no elevated position, there's no branches that we can hide behind. And so this is about as close as I'm comfortable with this buffalo. Of course we can get closer to them, of course we can sneak up on them and get even closer and get it a bit more exciting. But we run the risk of two things. A is we have a safety risk for ourselves, and B is that our job out here really on a walk is to show you the interesting smaller things and bushcraft and also the dangerous things on foot, but without disturbing the animals if possible. So that's one of the key drivers that I have here, or at least that drives me, is not disturbing these animals, being able to observe them on foot or in a vehicle without having any influence over their behavior. A mantra in my mind from a book. I can't remember what book it is, but it says, "Touch the earth lightly." Keeps on singing through my head whenever I have a view like that. And he's now come out into the open. Have a look there. I'm actually quite amazed at how much weight these buffalo have lost over this drought. You can actually almost see how gaunt his neck and his forequarters look. Head down, horn tips shining. It's actually what alerted to us in the first place, is this moving mirror-like reflection that came off of his horn. And you can see in the bush there, that's just, we're hiding out about no more than 100 yards from where he is at the moment. Sun just glinting off of his fur. Quite a peaceful setting this morning. I must be honest, this wind is basically allowing a surreal effect. So Christine, you've asked me what would I do if this buffalo should charge me. In this particular area, Christine, the only thing that you can do is to stand and make yourself look as intimidating as possible. So first thing I would do is I would shout and I would try and create some distance, and hopefully the distance that you create is enough to sort of de-escalate the tension that may be present. But if that wasn't the case, if he carried on coming, and I'd have to stand, lift my arms up in the air, shout aggressively, clapping my hands maybe, and even running towards him a little bit to see if I could scare him off. Failing that, in this particular area, Christine, you'd find me at the top of that marula tree, somewhere between the top branch and the one just underneath it. There's not much else you can do over here if you've got a buffalo that is really he has the idea in his mind that you're posing a threat that he absolutely can't stand in this area. I mean, we can't run away from them. They run at about 55 kilometers per hour. The only things that really run faster than buffalo are lion and leopard out of the big five. They even run even faster than what elephant can. I see that there's 2 buffalo there now. So I've just been joined by his friend. Buffalo do form these lifelong bonds with one another, and it's those bonds that keep them together and also help them in times of danger. Alright, but what we're fast doing here is we're fast overstaying our welcome. The bush around us here starts to react to our presence, birds, insects, and it's a subliminal feeling that animals like this have. So before we overstay our welcome, we're going to pull out of this area, and from what I'm told, Taylor has got some buffalo a lot closer than ours are to you.
Right, we've managed to find that big herd of buffalo I was telling you about. I'm not sure how many are here, but I want to show you something. There's a buffalo just in front of us, and I'm watching, Liam and I, and all of you will be watching some really cool behavior. Now, watch that oxpecker. We're going to just sit here. See that oxpecker? See how she's got a very big wound on her back? It looks like an abscess or something has burst. It doesn't look like the lions had jumped on her back. There's no claw marks. The blood is just coming from one big mass. So I suspect a wound of some sort. I don't know. I think it looks like an abscess to me. And now this oxpecker is keeping that wound open and fresh and eating all the blood that's coming out of there. Now we always see the oxpeckers just removing the parasites from the animals, which is nice. We only see the positive side. Now this is one of the negative sides of the oxpeckers. As great as what they are, they can also keep wounds open. It did look like it was starting to heal and scab, whatever that may be. And now those oxpeckers are reopening it. She's very thin, so I think whatever is wrong with her is definitely weakening her. And I don't know if she will survive. She's much thinner. We're going to go around and we're going to try and get better lighting. And then I suspect we could have another view of her. But I also like to see how many buffalo are in this herd. And I think we're just right at the back. I don't think we're anywhere near the front of the herd just yet. But let's have one more look at this buffalo over here. And it's actually interesting. When she walks, she's walking under branches too. Watch this. See how if she can, She walks, and then scrapes underneath a branch, and that's to try and get rid of that oxpecker. But that oxpecker is sneaky. It's just sunk down to the right-hand side, avoiding all the branches. You can see she's really making a concerted effort to try and get rid of that oxpecker. I think this is fantastic, seeing as you always see the oxpeckers just removing the parasites, the ticks. But you can see there how thin she is. She's lost a lot of condition. There's no real shine in her coat anymore. Her nose doesn't seem to be too wet. Her hips are protruding quite badly. You can see there how her nose is dry. It may be a little bit moist now because she's rubbing it on the damp grass, but the top of her nose is dry. Now as she's walking here, she's really lagging behind. There are a few still coming, which are in the bushes. However, she doesn't need to run the risk of being at the back of the herd. She's already injured, and she's lost condition, so she's just going to fall further and further behind. And I know that David was wondering if this is going to draw predators. I think this most certainly is, especially if those lions, as some of you said, that the lions came west past the dam. So they're basically going to converge. These buffalo seem to be sort of going in an easterly direction for the moment. They've come from the south, I think from the west, and are now pushing through to the east, and the lions are coming from the east going west. So I suppose they're going to converge. They may have the wind on their side. It's swirling a little bit, so I was just having a look. And I'm not 100% certain, but I think it's going to definitely draw attention. Right, now while I try and get to the front of this herd to show you how large it is, let's go over to Brent, who's got some more elephants this morning. No.
I don't think I'm Brent. Am I Brent?
Let's check. Hi, Brent.
Do I look? Am I Brent?
No.
No, I don't think I am. Anyway, there are some elephants just over there, everybody. And while you look at them and enjoy them, I'm just going to quickly, talk to Herbert on the Game Drive channel. Go ahead, Herbert.
Good morning, Object.
You can hear Herbie talking. Okay, copy, thanks. I've got some here on Chelopan. He's just talking about elephants, everybody, on the road where Stef and he are. So now let's just go back a little bit. And when we arrived at this herd, I have to tell you, they didn't look very pleased to see us. I'm not really sure why that should be the case. I suppose it's a little bit windy, but it's not exactly blowing a gale, as it were. Anyway, we're going to spend a bit of time with them and see what they do. I have found not hide nor hair of Kurulki, but we will keep looking for her. Our Queenie. Let's drive in here a little bit. Let's have a look at this young one there. Really enjoying the greenery are the elephants. Sorry about that, Brian. I'm saying sorry to Brian because I parked him on a slope. Just feeling around that amazingly dexterous trunk, pulling bits and pieces of green out of the trees. And like I said, the last elephant sighting I had, they will be concentrating on grass where they can get it. Obviously not much amongst the trees here. And still going for a few leaves, and also the fresh growth that comes up from the bottom of the trees. Now many of these trees would be doing what we call coppicing, and that means growing from the base as opposed to growing from the top of the trunk. And that's because the trunk during the course of the dry season has been obliterated by elephants, and so they put up new shoots from the base, from the root stock. Those are very nutritious, and that is what that little elephant is going for now. That elephant hasn't washed its face. Can you see that, Brian?
Oh, I can.
Very poor family hygiene. Yeah. Yes. It's got sleep in its eyes from the night. I think that's precisely what that is, everybody. It's a Djuma. The light is gorgeous today. As Brian was saying, although those cloudy days do promise rain, they seldom is any, they do make the light very flat. And then when the sun comes out in a day like today, you've got the golden light, the new spring green everywhere, and then it's shining on these elephants, and I just think it's very pretty indeed. Very relaxing morning. Quack, says the grey go-away bird, deeply unimaginatively named. And that's a bit of rootstock there, the elephant's eating. The rootstock will also become more and more nutritious because, of course, it derives its nutrition from the new leaves. And the new leaves produce carbohydrates or sugars from the sun and from CO2 in a process called photosynthesis, which, of course, everyone knows. And then those nutrients travel down to the roots and are stored in the roots. Bit of Impala alarming off to the side, but I think it's rutting. Hello, flaming fox. You're It's lovely to hear from you, flaming fox. Just a really lovely Twitter handle. I was amused briefly. You say you want to know about dangerous elephant moments. Well, I don't really like to harp on too much about dangerous moments with animals, mainly because when we've had them, or when I've had them, it's normally because I've made a mistake and I've failed to read signs that have said, or that have been given by elephants saying, go away, I don't want you around. I've ignored those, and that's then sort of escalated the situation. But I think the most dangerous elephant experience I had was in the Kruger Park, well, just north of us at a place called Impala, which is also in the Kruger Park. And we were just driving along, minding our own business one day, and suddenly my tracker turned to the side and he said, drive quickly. And when he spoke like that with such urgency, I didn't even ask a question. I just dropped a gear and put my foot down. And this elephant came herring out of the bush, a very easily recognizable cow with a tusk that was recurved. It bent backwards underneath her mouth. And she had had obviously a very bad experience of human beings beforehand. And she just came blasting out of the bush at us. And we drove away at great speed and got away. She got to within probably 3 or 4 meters of us. And the biggest danger there, of course, look at this little one coming up. The biggest danger was the fact that I had 6 people and the tracker on the car with me. And so the danger, of course, was A, that you lose somebody out of the car. You've seen how rough these roads are, and if you drive very fast and not very carefully, you bump about, and people can fall out of the car, and that's obviously a bit of a disaster if you're being chased by an elephant, even if you aren't being chased by an elephant. And then the second danger, of course, is that the elephant actually gets to the car and flips it over. But that was probably the most dangerous elephant experience I've had with other people. There have been a few on foot where I've tried to, or where I've got a little bit close perhaps by mistake, and especially when chasing elephants out of camps, you can get yourself into a bit of trouble then. But by and large, elephants are very understanding. Look at that sweet little thing, and they will tell you if they don't want you around, they make it patently obvious, and if you then continue to stay around, well, then you're just asking for trouble. This is wonderful. They've now started to calm around us. That's Mum, the big female, and she's eating now from the same bits of a nutritious root. Hello, Kyle. Just to reiterate, everybody, my name is not Brent Leo Smith. Brent Leo Smith is 6 feet and 4 inches long. He is twice as tall tall and twice as loud as I am. My name is James Hendry, and Kyle, you're wondering if the elephants of the Mara Triangle are bigger than the elephants here. No, I'd say they're exactly the same size, give or take. But interestingly, much as these elephants here in the Sabi Sand have been struggling a little bit with the dry season and the drought, and certainly these ones are looking a little bit ropey, if I'm honest, the ones there didn't look to be in the best condition. And what happens, I think, is that before they have their proper rainy season, and before the wildebeest come through that area, the grass turns to straw because it becomes moribund. It stops growing and putting up new nutritious green leaves. And I think the elephants struggled during that particular time of year, and I think you'll find now that the wildebeest have come through that area, they'll have shortened the grass, there will have been some rain. I think the elephants, much like the ones here, will be putting on some condition. I think I might take a photograph, Brian. A digital photograph, Brian, not on a film, because we're very modern now. Yes. I've got the elephant with sleep in her eyes.
Oh, wonderful.
Very exciting indeed. Hello, Benu. You're wondering about elephant memory and whether they have a good memory. Well, I've just told you that story of that cow who was very upset about our presence, and I suspect, Benu, that the reason she was so upset is that she'd had a very bad experience of human beings before. And absolutely they remember. They remember quite a lot, and they remember very easily. And I think that you'll find especially they remember what was dangerous, and they remember what was threatening. And they're very careful after they have a particularly threatening or dangerous experience. And they remember who was the cause of it. So if it was a vehicle and it was people in a vehicle, they remember that. But most importantly, Benu, what they do remember is that they remember where food sources are. They remember where water is, they remember where all the good food is, and they pass that on to younger generations. And that's a crucial part of elephant society, is that quite unlike many other societies where the youngsters go independent pretty quickly, these elephants live in a community where mentorship of youngsters, especially the young cows within the natal group, in other words, within the group to which they were born, the mentorship of those cows is crucial from the older cows. And indeed, we think it's one of the main reasons that they live slightly beyond menopause, that they have menopause at all. Very few species on Earth have this condition called menopause, our species being one noticeable example, and that's because there is this need for them to pass on information to younger generations, which is exactly what happens with human beings. Otherwise it doesn't really serve a great evolutionary purpose. It's a beautifully peaceful sighting, this, isn't it? Debbie, I'm going to say to you yes and no. It's quite interesting. You say you can almost sense the pleasure that these animals are feeling from eating the fresh new green leaves of grass and trees. And Debbie, I would agree with you to a certain extent, but I also think it's a relief to us. You know, we've been watching such dry landscapes for now, I don't know, almost 8 months, because we had such a very poor rainy season. And I think we're projecting, because I know exactly what you mean, because I feel the same thing. I think we're projecting slightly. We're kind of looking at these animals eating and thinking, gosh, it's good to see them eating some fresh green grass. They're going to put on condition. Things just look a lot more fertile and verdant. So I think it's also us. And we're much relieved by the greenness. And certainly when Brian and I got back, Brian was on leave, I was obviously up in Kenya, we had both of us said how the feeling that we got from the bush, from the greenery, was just that much more kind of, well, it was relieving. I wouldn't say pleasurable, but maybe pleasurable is the right word. Would you say, Brian?
Yeah. I would say, yeah.
Yeah. So that greenery definitely did provide us with some kind of I don't know, I'm struggling to describe it. It feels expectant, it feels like new life, it just feels like spring, I guess. Lots and lots of elephants around us. Lots of them off to the other side. Hello Zoe, you're wondering about must and whether the males will go into must as a result of the rains. Zoe, as far as I'm aware, must is not affected by rain at all. And so no, I don't think they're necessarily going to go into must as a result of the rains. I think that, and for those of you who don't know, must, of course, the time of breeding for the males, they have a sort of a surge of testosterone, which makes them a little bit, well, irritated generally with life and frustrated. And they go around trying to find a female ready to mate. And I don't think that's brought on by the rain. I think elephants are one of the very few completely a-seasonal breeders that we have out here. In other words, they don't really have a season for breeding. I think you probably, well, you might find that there's a slight birth peak during the winter months, at least during the summer months, but I don't think it's particularly well defined. Nothing like the Impala, of course, which we've got a month or so to go. Ooh, Brian, coming out in front of us, another Erd, or the rest of this Erd. I always wonders why it's an herb but not a Erd. Haven't you, Brian? Hasn't it kept you awake at night?
Most nights.
I remember the first time I heard the word herb on an American TV show. I said to my mother, what on earth is that? An herb. Maybe one of our American viewers could help me out a bit. Why is it an herb but not a Erd? I've never thought of that before. It's probably not very funny, I'm just my quirky sense of humour. Right, indeed, my sense of humour has become so very poor that we're going to go across to Stefan Winterboer and find out what he has to show you while I recover myself.
Here we have a yellow bull, a black-headed oriole, black-headed oriole for you, everybody. We're on foot here at Djuma Private Game Reserve, and this is about as close as what you can get to a black-headed oriole. A very, very striking bird here. Sunshine yellow chest and a black head. Yeah, hopefully we can get a glimpse up. Yeah, inside there, yeah. Just in the background there, you can just see that yellow color. That is really cool. Now it's a pair of them that are flitting about on the inside of this marula tree, but I think it just flew away now. Yeah, it's gone. And we actually have arrived at this Aardvark haven, for lack of a better word, and you can just have a look at all the excavations here. We bumped into this on foot the other day, probably about a month or two ago, and I was just astounded at the area that has been excavated into dens and burrows for these Aardvark. It must be several generations of Aardvark that have been living here, and at the moment we're busy looking for an active burrow. Every one of the burrows that we have been looking at the moment has been dormant. There was one that a Warthog family had moved into, but it was a while ago, nothing fresh. Here's one where the roof has actually caved in above the chamber, which is not uncommon. You can see this depression, the sand caved in, and you can actually follow, and let me see without me sinking down into this, if I can actually show you how this is how big the hollow was underneath the ground, basically, a little bit wider on either end, and you can see how the tunnel went that way and out. So the tunnel actually curved into the chamber, and you can see how much sand has been excavated. So here was the entrance to the burrow. The burrow went in here and then curved around to the big central chamber, and this was all the sand that got excavated out of there. That's just one burrow here. There's probably, let me come around you, we'll go that way. There's probably about, oh, and I see Karula has walked through here as well. This is an old leopard track, a female leopard track, 1, 2, 3, 4 toes with the back of the pad there. Doesn't look like much now, so let me trace out the toe. There's 1 toe, 2 toe, 3, 4, the middle of the pad in front of the planter pad, and then here are the lobes. Karula walk through here, probably in an effort to try and hunt 1 or 2 of the warthog that potentially live in these burrows, or even an aardvark. Although as far as I understand, Tingana is the one that enjoys the aardvark more than anything else. So here's a burrow that looks dormant. It's always, you got to approach these things with a fair amount of caution. You don't know what's going to come running out of them. Could be anything from a lion, a leopard, or an aardvark, or even what's more dangerous is a warthog. But this must cover probably about 2 football fields. And once again, I'm just sort of astounded at the fact at how much excavation is going on over here. It doesn't seem to be too much active at the moment, which is a bit of a worry. I was wondering where they've all gone. They might only move into here, of course, at a few times a year. They don't necessarily reside in the same place all year round, and that might be what we're seeing. This is for some time of the year used, at other times of the year not. There's something, it looks like. Let's go and have a look at that one. Just want to give whatever's in there an advance warning that we are approaching, just so that I don't get stormed out of it. Let's see over here. No, full of leaves. But just judging by the sheer volume of sand that's come out of this thing. So toxigenic, you've just asked me how big are aardvarks. So to put it into terms, into volume terms, with me on my knees, a big aardvark is probably about this big here. So 20 to 30 kilograms or so. Big aardvark probably about this big and about this wide. They've got quite well built shoulders, obviously those big digging claws, and then they've got this little hunched back and a long tubular nose. The nose itself is about this long, and the ears are about this long. If you could, get yourself a picture of an animal that's probably about this big, about as big as a little lamb or a goat's kid. Is about as big as what they get. They do get a little bit bigger than that. They've got a fat tail, probably about this fat and about that long in total. But yeah, they're not the biggest of animals, but they do these huge excavations here nonetheless. And I must be honest, I don't know if you've seen an active one here, Zana, but I must be honest that these all look like they've got nothing in them. They all look to be dormant. Alright, and obviously we'll carry on looking over here for some more excavations. James has got something that isn't dormant at all.
We've got a giraffe, everybody. Giraffe, giraffe, giraffe. Did you know that, Brian?
I did.
I think it's quite nice that they named ours the easiest. Some of the others very difficult. But our particular subspecies, everybody, the southern giraffe, 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 giraffe. Now that of course comes from the latest, and no doubt not the last, reclassification of the giraffe into 4 distinct species. I think there are still a couple of subspecies below most of those, but this particular subspecies is that one, Giraffe, Giraffe, Giraffe. And they too loving the new green leaves. And we are loving the golden light thereupon, aren't we, Brian? Yes. This is quite an old grizzled fellow, you can see. He's got much in the way of skull calcification. He has bashed his head many times against rivals as they've sought to impress the ladies around the place. I'm glad we don't have bumps on our heads from fighting over ladies, don't you, Brian? Yes. It would be quite interesting to watch people walking around with great bumps on their heads because they've been head-butting each other in order to impress women.
Or watching them headbutt each other too.
Well, yes, quite, exactly. Watching them headbutt each other in order to impress women, that would be amusing. Interestingly, though, and I think I have said this before, that calcification of the skull that you can see very impressively on this giraffe, in front and on the back, it does actually happen to contact sportsmen who play games like rugby, which is of course the greatest sport in the world, and gridiron football. Although they do wear helmets, their skulls still become fairly calcified from the crashing, the continual bashing that they take. And the skull eventually lays down extra calcium. I don't know what this giraffe is looking at. Hello, Justin. Good morning to you. You say, how large is a giraffe's brain? Well, we actually know that because we have a giraffe skull in which the bees are living in the tent. A giraffe's brain is roughly the size of my fist, a bit smaller maybe. Sort of the size of a small apple or a relatively medium-sized avocado pear, I'd say, is about roughly the size of the giraffe's brain. Complex calculus, probably a little bit beyond the giraffe, but I think that they probably are a bit more clever than we think they are. They certainly seem to learn human beings quite well. They learn whether we're a threat or not. They're unlike an impala, which is almost impossible to kind of habituate properly. Giraffe will become very used to people. And certainly there are parts of Africa, like a Giraffe Manor, for example, just outside Nairobi, where the giraffe will come and have breakfast with you and lick your face while you're having your cornflakes. That's quite disconcerting, but I think it is an indicator of the fact that they do learn that human beings are not particularly threatening. Then secondly, you want to know whether they have, whether they see in colour. No, they don't see in colour. It's a real disadvantage for a herbivore that is eaten by lions to see in colour, because it means that they're going to be night blind in the same way that you and I are night blind, Justin. And so no, they don't see in colour, they see in black and white. Well, not in black and white, it's more green and blue, but it's in monochrome. They don't see in 2 different colours. Negative, go again. Sorry, that's me on the Game Drive channel. I'm getting an update. I'm just getting an update on Tundi. Tex, how many thousands of vehicles are there? I'm just listening to the Game Drive. That's why I'm completely ignoring. Ooh, the ear's a bit... Okay, copy. Thanks, Tex. I'll try a bit later. Everybody, there are 46,000 vehicles on standby to see Tundi. She is in Torchwood, though, which means that she's... we're going to go and have a look a little bit later. She is visible from the from the road, same as you had her yesterday. So we'll go and we'll just let things calm down a bit there. Otherwise we'll find ourselves circling like the proverbial vulture trying to get into the sighting. Let's try and find Karula. I think she's around here somewhere, hopefully with a kill. And apparently there are monkeys alarming at Djuma waterhole. I'm not convinced that that's not the lions that they're shouting at rather than Karula. It could be Karula, but Taylor's up there. She'll have a look around there. We're going to continue down towards Treehouse Dam and see if we can't find the queen there. And I think Taxon's not too far from there either. So let's keep an eye out. The one, as I said, the one disadvantage of the greenery is the fact that the bush here is starting to thicken, which means you can't see quite as well as you could a month ago or so down across these valleys, which means that you actually have to do quite a lot more. It's more difficult to find game now. We know that. Hold on, Brian, we're going to turn left now.
Oh,
are you ready?
I'm ready.
Well done.
Spectacular.
Yes, it was rather. There's some Impala in front of us, 2 males having a bit of a fight, 2 teenage males having a bit of a fight, 3 teenage males having a fight. Any advance on 3? 3. 3 Impala having a fight, 5 Impala having a fight. Let's have a look at all the Impala having a fight, Brian. These 2 here, little boys. Now, everyone, how old do you think they are? It's very easy to age an Impala until it is 2.5 to 3 years old. Those ones coming up on their first birthday. Ooh, right, and then in front of us, Brian, the 2 older ones, which are coming up on their second birthday. And the reason, of course, it's easy to age an Impala is because they're all born at the end of November, bar the few who are born in February. And so it's from their horns, you can easily tell how old they are. Those ones coming up on 2. You can see all their horns the same shape, not quite the full twist yet. And also you can see that they're much more willing to engage with each other like these ones are than the younger ones coming up on their first birthday. And that's because the ones on their first birthday would stab each other to death quite quickly, were they to sort of have a go with those very sharp, short horns. These ones curved and are, I think, as much as they're used for stabbing, are used for kind of wrestling almost. They kind of hook into each other and pull and tug, as well as protect the head, and maybe the odd stabbing takes place. This is very cool. It's an interesting question from Murray coming through. Thank you, Murray. You say, if you see scars on a male animal, does it normally mean that they have been successful or unsuccessful at breeding? Murray, I would say it is a sign, if they're not dead, that they've been pretty successful. Animals that get scarred up and survive, like many of the male lions, well, all the male lions that survive to have offspring and dominate a pride, it's a sign of success. They certainly wear it as a sort of notch of success. The more scarred they are, the more successful they've been. But of course, those that aren't successful, they also get scars. But often that results in death. And so the unsuccessful ones don't make it to survive, and so you don't see their scars because they turn to dust. Quite a subdued dawn chorus, just because of the wind, I think. Chilly wind still blowing. The chin spot Battises are going. Black crowned chagras in the background. And and obviously the doves singing away. Let us continue, Brian. I feel that Karula is missing us. And there's also a woodpecker singing somewhere in here. Anyway, we're going to do a little turn towards Treehouse Dam. Taylor is with those alarming vertebrate monkeys all around there. Let's go and find out if there are any tracks indicating what they might be afraid of.
Well, the monkeys have stopped alarming now. It was an entire troop that was shouting away. We're a bit far away to see exactly where they're looking. It looked like they were shouting from down in the drainage. We went round first, we found some elephants. Nothing looking too alarming. Now we're sitting on the wall, you can see. And just scanning the area. And like I said, everyone's gone very quiet. So I know that a few of you kindly let us know that the lions went west after they were drinking. Now we're just going to check this drainage. Remember, the buffalo are coming east, so possibly they've picked up on their scent and that's where they're moving. So we're going to carry on along this dam wall. No, not yet. And we're going to go back the way we came, just to triple check. Actually no, we're going to go first check Gowrie Cutline as VM's suggestion. That's what we're going to go and do. And then we'll come back around. But I couldn't get to the front of the herd of that buffalo either, unfortunately. They moved right into a big drainage as well. So we lost sight of them. But they will pop out again. I'm sure they're going to pop out through that drainage probably in the next half an hour or so. And we still haven't seen any lion tracks this morning. Haven't seen one footprint. I'm also looking out for those, and hopefully they'll be able to tell us. Now, I haven't seen a Birmingham for a few days now, and X-Ranger wants to know if there's been an update on the male Birmingham with a hole in his face. I haven't heard too much. I did see a picture, and I did see the footage of when that second bout of maggots was around. Now, so I'm not sure, I can't answer that. Hopefully he's coming back. I did hear some calls of lions late last night. It sounded like they were coming from the east, possibly coming to the west. So maybe it was that male. We know he was on Nkoro. So that's something we're going to hope and see. He seems to come back to the pride quite often, from what I've seen so far. So hopefully we'll be able to have a look at him again. But X-Ranger, for now, I'm uncertain of how he's doing. We will see. Okay, we're on Gowrie Cutline now. Having a look to see if we can find any tracks or lions. The actual lions would be a lot better. Also checking in their favorite drainage line. Just lots of Impala footprints on the road at the moment. And then we'll do a big loop. Possibly we catch that herd of buffalo out again by the time we get back there. Hope we pick up on the lions at some point along the way too. I know this square very well now, seeing as the Nkahumas have made it their permanent home. Right, while I carry on looking for the lions, let's go to James, who's got a bird of prey for you.
Wonderful.
We had a bird of prey, everybody. It flew off. It was a snake eagle, an unusually coloured snake eagle. I think a juvenile brown snake eagle. Now, we also have leopard tracks here, but they are not the tracks of Karula. They are the tracks of a male leopard, and to me looks a bit smaller than the likes of Tinganana. And so I'm going to suggest that maybe this is Sindile. I'll just try and find you a decent track. I think behind. Well, no, let's just go a little bit forward. We'll try and find you one that is clear and obvious. Here is a nice area here. There we go. Can you see that one in the light there, Brian, or is it too close? Too close. Let me go back a bit. You see it now? Okay. It's quite a lot of effort just to show somebody a track, isn't it, Brian? Yes, now, you just look around. I'm sure I'm not going to stand on him. I don't think these are that fresh. Here you can see them. You got these ones? And I'll tell you why I don't think they're very fresh. I don't think they're fresh because, it has been quite windy. There was a millipede track further back though, and it looked like a millipede had walked over the top of them. They're just not that distinct. They're also, I don't think, quite as big as Tinganas. They could be Tingana, but I don't think they're quite that big, but they're definitely bigger than the females. Karulas would be much smaller than that, probably about that size there. So quite substantially smaller. And I also, definitely don't think they are Hosanas, because, he's probably got about the same size feet as his mother does now. They'll be getting slightly bigger fairly soon, but they're around about the same size, so these are too big for him. And so I don't believe that's him. Now, where this leopard has gone is anyone's guess. I'm going to look at the junction here. Just come straight down here. They're just not that distinct. And indeed, it looks almost like someone's driven over them. Let's just look. We want to know if we're going to go down here or down here. We will continue down that way. That's where the tracks go. I'm going to drive relatively quickly because, like I said, I don't think they're particularly fresh. We round about the area where Karula was, so maybe we'll pick her up as well. Are you ready, Brian?
I'm ready.
I'm just going to put my blankie on. It's still quite cold. Alright. We're going to drive quickly down here. Let's head back to Stef quickly for an update from him. And if we find a leopard, we'll be sure to tell you all about it.
Welcome back to this part of today's game drive. It's the bushwalk, and you're on a bushwalk with myself, Stef. And we've just figured out, we just stopped here literally because Kirsty said to us, hey, we need to come to you for an update. And as we stopped and opened up our eyes around us, can you believe that I found two different snake skins? Come and have a look here. There's this one here, which looks to be, we found it on the ground actually. It was just lying exactly where it is now. And it looks to be one of the ground living snakes that used these pieces of bark to peel the skin almost entirely off of the body. This could be anything from a sand snake to, let's see what else would live on the ground that's this thick and this long, to a house snake, a brown house snake, even something like a long, quite a large red-lipped herald. But it's probably a house snake, or most commonly one of the sand snakes that lives here. And we had that one. So now Zoe, good morning Zoe, you've asked, has anyone actually been seeing any snakes yet? Zoe, no, not just yet. They haven't really, it's not like snakes hibernate here, but they have their activity periods shortened dramatically during our colder or during our dry months to a very short period per day, and then not very far from where they're resting up. So I haven't actually, and we haven't been seeing too many yet, but that'll happen. As soon as it starts to heat up a little bit more, we'll start seeing more of them. And of course, here's the second snake skin still in the place we found it, and this one came off almost entirely. Here's the head, this is the bottom jaw, and the face. See if I can show you the eye. No, took the eye with him. So this is just the bottom jaw. There's the eye there. This definitely looks like a boomslang. You can see that massive hole there. That's where his eye scale would have been. And this is big enough to be one of Africa's most venomous snakes. Is this, the boomslang. And you can see exactly what happened here. The snake came along, slithered into this tree, and then hooked its old skin on these branches, and then came and peeled it off and left it lying over here. Other than nesting material for birds, the snake skin doesn't really provide anything much. I mean, we can't use it for anything in this current form. But I have seen little birds using it as nesting material and weaving it in to their nests. Now, another thing that caught my attention while we were here, we seem to be in a block full of giants. We have this giant, and this is big for this area. This is a Lowveld or a Transvaal gardenia tree. And generally speaking, they're about half the size of this one. Hopefully, this gardenia will come out in some white and yellow flowers that have the most unbelievable perfume by the time they by the time spring comes along. But I'd just like to come and say hello to old trees like this. Who knows how many hundreds of years this tree has taken to grow? It's one of the protected trees that we have out here. These trees grow incredibly slowly. And I would gather that this tree is at least 200 or 300 years old to be this size. I mean, can you imagine the history that this tree has seen in its 200 or 300 year lifespan to now? Oh, just such a magic example of them. So Donna and Velma, you've asked me to see if I can find a tree with some square branches. Yes, no problem, we can do that. It is the Kalahari or sandpaper raisin, and I'm just busy having a look for one around me now. And of course, because I want to show you a Kalahari raisin, there isn't any. But we will find one and I'll get it back to you. It's a very common tree in actual fact. And then the other thing that I want to have a look at and go and show you is there is a mountain of a termite mound next to that tall tree down there. There we go. Take you in there. That's in the distance. I want to go stand on top of that termite mound. That is a termite mound that is easily as big as a small apartment. And that's what we're going to be doing. So apart from the fact that this gardenia was just an absolute giant, just take one more look at this guy, just to fully appreciate this tree. And being in the middle of a block like we are now, it's unlikely that we'll get to see it full of flowers or smell its perfume. So I just want to say hello. We'll see. Maybe we make another excursion all the way out here again in the next couple of months. I doubt it though. Anyway, while we're getting ourselves onto that termite mound, James has got a warthog and they don't stick around for very long.
We do have warthogs, everybody, and what's quite nice about them is that they're not really very frightened of us, which is unusual. So often the pigs run away, but the pigs today are staying with us, and they are loving the green grass. It's a very sweet little sounder we have here going, isn't it, Brian? A sweet little pig sounder. Now the pigs, they will tell you, are the ones that wear the drought the worst. They're the ones that are going to be in such a dire state of affairs at the end of the drought. Well, I'm here to tell you now that that most certainly was not the case. These chaps did the drought very well, got through it, and they're now going to put on even more condition. So what is the arrangement there? We've got a young boar, that's that one there that you're looking at, as evidenced by the fact that he has, well, he's got stuff behind his tail. That's how you can tell from this distance. And then also, beyond there, I think there's a sow and possibly two youngsters. Now, I don't know if you can hear this in the distance, other than just wind, but just try and filter it out from the wind and you'll hear. Boop, boop. Boop, boop.
Oof, just too windy.
Just too windy. You can't hear it, eh?
No, I think you can.
Now what that, everybody, it is not a drunken hoopoo. It's always how I remind myself. The hoopoo goes boop boop, boop boop boop. And this bird goes boop boop, boop boop. Like a sort of drunken hoopoo. A hoopoo that is drunk and depressed as well. And it is, of course, the African cuckoo. that we can hear in the background. Fiona, you're in the United Kingdom. You say, what sound do I miss the most when I am away from here? Good question. Because there are nice sounds everywhere if you listen carefully enough. But which sound do I miss the most when I'm here? Well, I guess it must be something obvious like the white-browed scrub robin. I really enjoy that call when I'm here. And I suppose during this, I tell you the call that I miss the most during the winter months. And it always reminds me of summer and brings back very happy memories of the Sand River and running along the Sand River of an evening. When I wasn't guiding and I was doing other bits and pieces, I used to go for a run on the Sand River down at Londolozi every evening. And I remember the cuckoos, the red-chested cuckoo. That's not what they sound like, is it? They go... Bit my fro, bit my fro. I just remember that call in the greenery of the lush sort of riverine vegetation, and that always fills me with a great sense of nostalgia and memory. So during the winter months when we don't have any of the cuckoos, I guess it's that call that I miss the most. I don't miss the woodland kingfisher, I've got to tell you. Hello, blue butter frog. I do love that name, blue butter frog. Is that actually a thing, or is it just made up? It might actually be a real biological entity, a blue butter frog. Blue butter frog, you want to know if these warthogs are endangered. I do not believe them to be endangered. In fact, I know they're not endangered, but I'm just going to check, given that CITES is going on right now, what I'm going to check for you is whether or not, or on which particular list they're on. They will be classified, and I suspect they'll be least concern. Yes, they are. They're classified as least concern, and that means that they are not endangered. No one's particularly worried about them. There are no restrictions on their, well, unfortunately, on their hunting. Or on their trade, I suspect. They breed very easily, especially in the absence of predators. They breed very easily, and they're very happily live in just about all kind of wildlife areas. If there's enough water to eat, you won't find them in deserts. Tracy, you want to know if you can eat these pigs. Tracy, these pigs quite possibly have the most delicious meat of any other animal in the world. They really are very fine eating indeed. I've eaten one or two in my time, and I've always really enjoyed the taste of warthog, roasted slowly over a spit. One doesn't like to look at these little things and think of that, but of course one must accept that if one is a meat eater, then this is even how, is that one lying down? Yes, having a bit of a snooze. You've got to accept, of course, that the cow or the pig that you eat when you have your bacon in the morning or your beef in the evening, well, it used to wander around like these ones did too for a while. Yes, they don't like the wind, and they do, you know what they do fall, not prey to, but fall victim to sometimes, is a cold snap. So if it were to get very cold very suddenly, they can get quite chilly, especially if they don't have a good burrow to live in. That's quite sweet, you don't see that every day. Warthog affection, see that, Brian? That's very sweet. Obviously seeking probably warmth as much as comfort. Comes another one behind now. This is so cool. Hello James Richard, you're wondering about subspecies of warthogs and whether we have any here. We certainly don't have any in this particular area, but there are 4 subspecies of warthog apparently. You get the Nolan warthog, the Eritrean warthog, the Central African warthog, and the Southern warthog. Now, I know that some of you will think, good grief, that man has an astounding breadth of knowledge, but actually he's just read it, because it was in the same piece of text that he read about whether or not they are of endangered, or what status they are in the IUCN. They are least concern, and there are 4 different subspecies. So the Nolan warthog you find in kind of West Africa. Probably just on the forest margins. They don't like to live in forests, so you'd probably find them on the forest margins going into the savannas of West Africa, because there are lots of forests in West and Central Africa. And you get the Central African warthog, which is the one I think we saw in Kenya. That's the one we saw there. And then this, the southern warthog, obviously, and then the Eritrean warthog, which unsurprisingly is found in the Horn of Africa. Eritrea, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Somalia. There we are. It's quite nice to know. I didn't know that before. Now I do. Alright, let's leave sleepy warthogs. Leopard tracks went off to the south. We're doing a loop of the block. It doesn't have a very leopardy feel today, I must say. Anyway, Stefan has managed to find a termite mound, and he is now the king of the castle.
Sometimes these links that my co-presenters give me are just hilarious, although I'm not the best at it myself. What we've got here is the single largest termite mound that I know of on Djuma, Arathusa and Cheetah plains. This has to be the biggest termite mound, and this is all made by a little insect related to a cockroach, no larger than your fingernail on your finger. I mean, this is as big as a building. Can you imagine how many years, how many hundreds of years it's taken, sand grain by sand grain, to glue something this big together, and how deep it goes. The general rule of thumb is that termite mounds are very similar to icebergs in the fact that only about 10% actually sticks out of the ground. What I am going to do is I'm going to see, Xander, how do you feel? Do you feel you'll be able to walk up here? I'll help you. I would love you to join me at the top here to show you some of the views that I can see. We've got such a clear day today, with the storm that's washed the air clean of dust and of smoke, that it would be a waste not to show you at least something. So it's going to get a bit messy as Xander gets up here. He's carrying a big heavy backpack, and of course this is slab-sided. Can I give you a hand there, pal? There we go. Alright, just watch up. You get a bit of vertigo as you're standing up here. But just have a look at what this looks like. We can see almost the entire Sabi Sands. I'm actually going to be running through a couple of features now as we come back from right to left. There in the distance, hold on one sec before you race away. Over there's the Arathusa airstrip, through the trees there. That strip of white that you can see on the left hand side of the screen. And then as we slowly come about, you're looking over the Sand River drainage basin, and then there's a line of hills in the background over there that look like the ridge on a crocodile's back. That is near a town called Tulumahaj. And if we come just further left of that, there's a small little range of hills in the dark. Sorry, right of that, excuse me, Xander. Small little range of hills just in the distance before the Drakensberg. That is the municipality of Bushbuck Ridge. That is a 2-hour car journey from here, to give you an idea of how far we are looking. And then that bright blue mountain range that you're seeing in the back, that's the northern end of the Drakensberg Mountains, and it forms the western boundary of the Lowveld. It's also South Africa's longest mountain range and has one of its highest peaks. One of them being that peak over there, over that tree there, that is Maripskop, and is the highest peak in this area. And also how we are getting our signal from where we're standing over here on top of one of the world's largest termite mounds, all the way to final control, and then on top of that mountain, and then to you everywhere, I think, in the world. I don't quite know how it's all done. I know we get some internet from somewhere and it goes to somewhere, but just have a look at how tall this thing is. I just can't believe how high we are. A herd of elephants slept there last night. You can just see over here, you can actually see where they defecated. The urine's still wet, and all their patterns of their skin in the sand. That's the skin pattern of a herd of elephant. And I would have been quite safe up here if they were down there. Wow. Hey, nice, Hosanna. I'm going to go down this face just to show you how steep this thing is, and then I'll help you get down. I'd love to know how old this termite mound is. Definitely hundreds of years. And there I'm at the bottom. Easily 3 or 4 of me. Crazy, man. Anyway, I'm glad we shared this termite mound with you, to be quite honest. It's one of those rare things out here to see something as big. A true giant. Anyway, we're going to be sending you back over to Taylor and catch up with you in a little while.
So we keep bumping into lots of buffalo. You can hear them all chatting away to each other. It's quite exciting. Lots and lots and lots of buffalo this morning. I think this is some of the herd that we saw earlier. It seems like a few more actually still coming towards us. We're going to see some more popping out. We've even got some elephants in the sighting too, which is great. We'll have a look at the buffalo and then we'll carry on around and have another look at the elephants. So we're good here actually. We don't need to reposition. You can hear them very vocal, talking, and they communicate quite often. Normally it's between mom and calf, but perhaps they're talking to each other today and deciding where they're going to go. And I believe I was just listening to the Game Drive radio, and it's coming something quite exciting, and I'm hoping that they're going to continue coming south. But someone has just said that there's a massive buffalo herd, and when they said massive, he described it over about 3 or 4 different roads, one end starting, the end sort of ending behind that. And I suspect that there's probably a few hundred in that herd, and they're coming straight south, which is exciting. So maybe by this afternoon they'll be here. Now, we've been seeing quite a few buffalo, which is quite nice after a dry spell of about a week. And we were chatting in the tent yesterday. Stef was asking me about what do I think is going to happen with all the wildlife to come. Now, this is my favorite part, when only the northern side seems to have got quite a bit of rain, quite a bit more rain than the southern sands and the southern area, Greater Kruger area. So all the animals have instinctively come up to here now. We've got water, and we've got lots and lots of green grass around. All the trees are getting green leaves too. So all of a sudden we're seeing all the big herds of buffalo again, and we're going to see lots of elephants. But as we start to run out, as rain starts to spread over the entire sands, the entire Greater Kruger area, and the grass keeps coming through, it's obviously going to make it a little bit more difficult for us, because now there's lots and lots of areas for the different animals to go and eat and to go and drink from. They're not just having to come back up north. But we're going to enjoy every little bit of it now. Now we're going to go around and have a look at some of these Ellies. They sounded like they were pushing big trees over. Hopefully we'll get a sight of them. I can see 1 or 2 quite close to the road.